Moses sees the burning bush and hears, Moshe, Moshe. And he says, Hineni. Translated, here I is. And the bush said, dude, it's you. You're it. And he goes, who are you talking to? No, you don't know me. You don't know me. I'm insufficient. I got a speech impediment. I just killed my brother. Like, I'm on the run here. Do you not get this? What's up with that?
We have an amazing, incredible, on-point guest speaker. He is truly one of us, and that's Dr. Paul Scheele. I'm so grateful to Vita and Peter Thorpe for their close friends, and they said, you've got to bring him, and here he is. And so he is the CEO of Scheele Learning Systems. He's influenced a diversity of organizations through his work in problem solving, creativity, communications, and leadership development. And I love this. You ready? Buckle up. Accelerated learning. So we're going to accelerate some learning today. And he is able to produce rapid and effective change. And it is time to play big in the abundance of our life. So it is my sincere pleasure to ask Dr. Paul Scheele to come up and share with us.
Good morning, CSLDallas. How is it feeling today? When I travel, when I wake up in the morning, when I get things going, I love an affirmation that I got when I first started studying New Thought and Ancient Wisdom tradition through the Unity Church. The poet laureate James Dillett Freeman gave an affirmation that goes like this: I am alive, lured awake, joyous, and enthusiastic about this day. I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm and spring forth with a mighty faith to do the things that ought to be done by me right now. Now, I'll tell you what, when I'm ready to go swimming in Minnesota at the club and it's February and it's 20 below zero, all of us in the land of frozen chosen really wonder why we live there, right? But when you say an affirmation like that on the way to the pool, you're ready to swim, right? And that's really what it's about here. It's the ability to find the resources necessary to do what's yours to do. You get what I mean? What ought to be done by me right now. Now, what ought to be done by you right now? Who are we, right? I can use shorthand. I'm in a community. I get to let my spiritual hair down. You are a spiritual being having the fully human experience, right? We all got that, right? Spiritual being came into the human. What for? For the experience of feeling. We are feeling beings. We're here for the felt experience. We are coming from the infinite down into this body, mind, this feeling experience that is limited so that we can bring our spiritual gifts to the contribution of an expanding universe that needs us to play our part. Is that making sense? So an oak tree produces this little thing called an acorn. Minnesota, where I come from, is the Twin Cities are in an ecotone called an oak savanna. So all these little acorns are all over the place. That acorn has not a single oak plank anywhere in it. You could dissect it. There's no oak tree in it. So what is it? It's a spark of life, first and foremost, and it's a blueprint. What's a blueprint? The blueprint is specifically designed to organize the abundant resources of its environment in the ideal sequence of steps, step by step, to produce the full expression of the oak tree. That's it. It's a blueprint. And guess who you are? As a human being, you came in downloaded with a blueprint of the fullest expression of who you are. And that fullest expression is your contribution to the evolutionary impulse that brought you here. And so it's really important that you play your part full on. So how do we do that? Because we're living in the experience of limitation, and yet we're spiritual beings supposed to contribute big. So there's a bit of a paradox here, isn't there? And what's the problem to be solved? There isn't one. There's a polarity to be managed. Yes, you are a spiritual being. Yes, you're a human being. You're a spiritual being having the human experience. This is not anything you ever resolve. You live into it, and you manage this polarity with the gifts and resources that are all around. The universe is infinitely abundant. Your prosperity is the degree to which you allow yourself access to that infinite abundance. So let me give you another way of representing this. I'd invite you to drop into this experience a little more deeply. If you'd like to close your eyes, you're welcome to do that. Not necessary. But if you would, for a moment, please, just withdraw your awareness from the activities of the day. All that it took for you to wake up, to travel here, to be here, to get to this seat, let it all be, and just be present to the space your body is occupying in this now moment. You can notice that your body breathes you. You don't have to think about it. It's been doing it all your life. And as you become witness to the flow of that breath, see if you can just let your shoulders relax a little bit more. See if you could let your forehead smooth out and bring a slight hint of a smile to the corners of your eyes and the corners of your mouth. See if you can notice the touch of the breath in your nostrils. Because when you do, you can only be present. You can't be in other times and places. Just feeling the touch of the breath in your nostrils at this moment. Notice that there is a flow, and if you would allow it, no pauses or hesitations between that flow. So that the inhale flows into the exhale in a perfect dynamic balance and harmony of opposites. See if the inhale and exhale can be of a similar duration. And that balance brings balance to the hemispheres of the brain, to the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic is the action-oriented. The parasympathetic is the rest and restoration. The male and female energies within you, the spiritual and the human, in a perfect, dynamic balance. And where does that representation of your physical existence as a human begin? It's at that spinal column that runs up the back channels of your body, the most dense part of you, the physical. And surrounding that most dense is a subtler body. It's called the emotional body. And we feel these on the front side, these nerve ganglion that represent emotions from the base of the torso to the crown of the head, and all the colors of the rainbow, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet, moving up and down through this subtle field of energy that is your emotional body. And then the mental body surrounding that, where thought forms appear, sometimes in 360, sometimes a a thought comes from behind you, sometimes off to the right, sometimes off to the left. It appears, thoughts occur. And this subtle energy field is surrounded by the spiritual body. And if you look at the map of this and the evolution of your brain, then the reptilian complex manages the physical body. The mammalian limbic system around that reptile brain manages the emotions. And the neocortex surrounding that is the thinking brain. And this spiritual presence that you are is more than any of this. You have a body. You have emotions and feelings. You have thoughts and think. You are not your thoughts. You are not your feelings. You are not your body. You are the presence and power of the universe come into expression to inhabit this human experience. And this prefrontal cortex, the very front of your brain, is the God spot, this executive function that guides your life. And when we drop into prayer, to visioning, to experience, we represent the totality of existence, the consequences of our actions, our thoughts, and our feelings. And if you would gently bring yourself back and open your eyes into the space that we're inhabiting right now, you begin to see this magnificent development that the universe and its evolution has brought itself to the point where it can become self-aware. It can reflect on its own existence. You are not merely human. You are the universe in the form of a human. You came from stardust. You evolved out of this cauldron of fire and lava to sing opera, to pray, to do art, to make your contribution to humanity. When we say, I see the divinity in you, what is that? It's recognizing you're looking into the universe itself. In the eyes of the universe, become self-aware. This is an important time in human history. Is there any denying it? And guess what? You all signed on to be here at this moment of the great turning in human history. There's just one problem. We grow up through developmental levels, through our infancy and our childhood, and we finally get to the age of adulthood, and we've taken on the cumulative consciousness of humanity, the culturalized mind. We've taken our belief systems from our family and from our institutions like religion and school and our culture, and we have achieved this magnificent level called the socialized mind. Woohoo! We're an adult. And you do everything that you're told and you go, uh-oh, it ain't working. Have you ever noticed that? It's like, if I do everything I was told, it ain't working. And so at some point, you entered the next evolutionary or developmental stage. It's called the self-authoring mind. So I know I'm preaching to the choir, right? We're already in the self-authoring mind. You already recognize that thought is a power in and of itself. You already recognize you're a spiritual being come in to manifest in the world a world that works for everyone, a world that's socially just, that's environmentally sustainable, that's economically sustainable, and that's spiritually fulfilling for all. We're here to bring that about. We're here to contribute our spiritual gifts and talents into a world that needs you. But you're faced with an immune system that says, yeah, but what if? Right? Remember when Jeremy stood up here and he wanted to bring his gift of his art, and he said, yeah, but who am I? And we have three big insufficiencies that our immunity to change sets up for us. The first one is the mind. The insufficiency of the mind says, I'm not worthy. It's not me. Moses, this is biblical, right? Moses sees the burning bush and hears, Moshe. And he says, Hineni. Translated, here I is. And the bush said, dude, it's you. You're it. And he goes, who are you talking to? No, you don't know me. You don't know me. I'm insufficient. I got a speech impediment. I just killed my brother. Like, I'm on the run here. Do you not get this? What's up with that? So this is normal, okay? This is biblical, right? So when you see an insufficiency showing up in you, you go, oh, cool. This is a biblical moment. It's like, I think it's not about me. Yeah. And then the next one is an insufficiency that what will people think? Will they like it? Will they love me? Will I still belong to this world that brought me to this point? Will I still belong? The fear that we won't is deep in our DNA. When you got kicked out of the tribe, your chances of survival went way down. So this is deep. It's not just in your head, right? This is a heartfelt thing. And then drop a little lower into the gut. This is a source of the will. And this is where we feel, I'm not going to be safe. I'm not going to make it. I am insufficiently resourced. Can I trust that people are going to catch me if I fall? I'm not safe. I'm not loved. I'm not enough. Do these voices ever operate in your head? This voice of insufficiency, this voice, this fear of belonging, this is the voice of cynicism. This is the voice of judgment. This is the voice of cynicism. Oh, I had a dream like that. Forget it. It's never going to happen to you. Broken-hearted idealist. That's the cynic, the broken-hearted idealist. You gave up on yourself, gave up on your dreams. Brush them off. Bring them back. It was written on your heart and mind of what's yours to do. So when the voice of judgment comes in, when the voice of cynicism comes in, the voice of fear is not far behind. And what we know about this immunity to change is that the last thing anybody wants to do is surrender their will. You could be prisoner of war, buried in a hole, breathing through a tube, and the last thing you're going to do is give up your will. But guess what? When we trust and surrender our will to what's ours to do, that's when the magic happens. That's when the universe brings the abundance that's yours. All the cattle on 1,000 hills. It's all yours. For what? To do what's yours to do in this life. But if you won't take the first step, the universe goes, we can wait. And you either get it, or you die in quiet desperation, right? But he who does not the thing has not the power. He who does the thing has the power. So I found this interesting bit of scripture. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all things shall be added unto you. Ever hear that one? It's also translated, depending upon which authentic translation of the Bible you have. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all things shall be added unto you. Right? Well, in the ancient Greek translation of the Aramaic Bible, they had a word that wasn't our 17th century idea of, big guy, bearded guy on a throne in this, heavenly realm. It was called expansion, or Uranos. Seek ye first the kingdom of expansion, and all things shall be added unto you. Now, at that time, I had started business in 1981, and at that time, I was realizing that I was kind of stuck in a place. I was under a glass ceiling, and as an entrepreneur, you got to look around and see the only person in the room is pointing at himself, right? My income, my contribution to the world, it's all on me. I try to bring a team together, do the work, it's still all on me. And we had gotten stuck below the $2 million mark. We'd grown the business, pretty proud, made our first $1 million, that was awesome. But our second $1 million was an elusive goal, bumping our heads against it. $1.7 million, $1.8 million, $1.9 million, $1.7 million, right? $1.8 million, $1.7 million, year after year after year. And I found this metaphysical translation, seek ye first the kingdom of expansion, and all things shall be added unto you. So I thought, where am I living in my comfort zone? And what is it going to take for me to expand my work out into the world? And instantly, I knew where I was holding back. Do you know the very next step, one next step, not the 27th next step, do you know one next step you could take in the next 24 hours to expand who you are into the world more fully? Yes or no? 3 people said yes. Okay. Could you come up with at least one thing you could do to expand your work into the world in the next 24 hours? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. So it's no mystery. I don't know what the third step will be, but if you know one next step, then when you step out into the abyss, the universe comes up to support your foot. Trust and surrender. With an open mind, open heart, open will, trust and surrender, take the one next step. It's all you have to do. And guess what? The universe says, oh, you're finally on board. Glad you showed up. Let's get to it, shall we? That's what it's about. And so in the very next year, that business I started in 1981 did not $2 million, $3 million in business. The very next year. Better yet, the year after that, it went to $6 million. 2 years after that, to $12 million. A product line that was gifted to me back in 1976. Took me 12 years to find the technology available to make it happen. Continues to this day. That one product continues to generate $1 million in revenue every single year. One of the products I developed in several years that it was being promoted on infomercials, $20 million in retail sales a year. So what I'm talking about is get out behind your immunity to change that's making you play small. It's okay that you think you're insufficient in some way or another. It's perfectly okay. And here's the dynamic. It's not a problem to be solved. When we do our spiritual practice, we are breathed into, aren't we? We're inspired by our spiritual practice. Why? So that we can go into the world and contribute our efforts into the world. And when we have completely spent everything that who we are, we retreat once again to that holy place and receive that renewal, that inspiration, that change of heart, that opening of our consciousness, that prosperity consciousness that gives us access to the universe of abundance so that we can go back into the world. And when we've contributed every last breath in this life, if any of you have ever done hospice work, you know what they will say to you as you're breathing your last breath? You did good, kid. You did good. You can let it go. And you trust and surrender to the next adventure. Life is a continuum. You're never going away. The mark that you leave on this planet is needed right now. So this is a polarity. It's not a problem that ever gets solved. It's like the breath in your nostrils, bringing you in and out of that flow. We come here because it feeds us. Be fed. Go into the world. Make your fortunes. Make a difference. Contribute to the lives of people and spend it all because like this next breath that's going to be there, it flows. Trust and surrender. Open mind, open heart, open will. You got that? Okay, so join me if you would in saying that affirmation one more time. I think we're going to be able to get it on the screen. Okay? If you can, if you're ambulatory and you can stand up, come on, stand up with me. And let's practice a couple of these words. Think of this word, joyous. Say it. Joyous and enthusiastic about this day. Enthusiastic about this day. Okay, now I want to hear the sizzle really sizzle. I fairly sizzle. Yeah, I mean, what's the sign for sizzle? It's like, yeah, look at the sign for sizzle. It's like, yeah, I fairly sizzle with zeal. Can you say zeal? Yeah. Okay, so we're going to do it. You ready to do it? Oh, 4 of you now are ready to do it. Come on. Wait. Are you ready to do this? Yes. You see, if you can hear your voice say yes to this life, you're going to make a difference every time you encounter a person in this world. So let's do it. I am alive, alert, awake, joyous, and enthusiastic about this day. I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm and spring forth with a mighty faith to do the things that ought to be done by me right now. Woo-hoo! Perfect. So have a seat. I'm going to ask Reverend Karen to join me in a closing prayer for these thoughts, shall we? So take a moment just to come back to center. Come back to this place where this magnificent human life is that point at which spirit comes into the world. There is a spark, a divine spark that is an evolutionary impulse that brought you here. We bless it. We give thanks for it. And there is a blueprint written deeply on your heart and on your mind. This is yours to do. The things that ought to be done by you to create a world that works for everyone, for all living things, for Mother Earth, for Grandfather Sky, and for all things in between. You're needed. And And we know who you really are. You are the presence and power of God. Come into this world to make a contribution at this turning point in human history. A world that's socially just. It's environmentally and economically sustainable and spiritually fulfilling for all. We bless you. We give thanks for you. We know that you're here to do great things, to play big and to play full out. With every breath you breathe, with every day you're here, your blessing is an abundant connection to the infinite. And your prosperity consciousness says yes. With an open mind, an open heart, and an open will, you trust and surrender into this space. We know it is good and very good, so we let it be. And I give this prayer, this meditation to Reverend Karen.
So it's in this moment that we bring what we know. We bring the spark that we are, and we bring the light of the world as each of us into this moment. We take this moment to use one candle, a single light, and yet this single light, if placed in the right spot, can set the whole world on fire, can ignite the whole world with one flame. And so it's in this moment that we light this flame, this one light, in remembrance of all the lives that have been snuffed out recently. All the lives that have been touched by something unexpectedly. We bring our light into the darkness and dispel it. And we bring our light for the purpose of those that are no longer with us in Las Vegas. We bring our light to those that are no longer with us in Puerto Rico, in Florida, in Texas, and perhaps Louisiana and Mississippi. We bring our light that are no longer with us in Canada. It does not matter what the act and the condition is. We bring our spark, our light into this darkness and say, no more. No more. We are the flame of love. We are the light of love. And your lives, whoever they have been, for however long the unexpected has occurred, they are not wasted any longer. For we bring our light and this collective light to this world for such a time as this, as we do not have to light another light. And so we honor all the heroes that stepped in any occasion, rushed in, just as the universe rushes in to love and support and to lift us up and to say, you are the divine one. I see you, and I am the light, and you are the light. And this light ignites, and it ignites, and it ignites, and the darkness is no more. And so we take a moment, a mere moment, to bring anyone, any person, any place, any situation, any condition into our hearts, and we shine our light on that in the silence. And it's from this place of love and compassion and empathy that we dispel any anger or hatred, divisiveness or separation. And we bring our light for the sake of all of humanity, and we awaken as we open our eyes and see the light and be the light. And so it is.